Melissa, let me know when you have everybody in and it's on YouTube.
All right, you're ready to go.
Sounds good. We'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. Because we already started late and we have an important update from one of our members, I would like to entertain a motion to move item 6, which is updates from stakeholder group liaisons, up to the next in our agenda, and I'll need a second.
I second.
Michael second. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
I see everyone's hand. Motion carries. Dana, thank you so much for hanging in there. I would love to hear the updates from you and Sabrina.
So thank you very much. We have connected with 26 organizations, both not-for-profits and neighborhood centers. We have 2 more feedback sessions. So we had a feedback session in person. We had one on Zoom. We have a Google form. And then we also offered one-on-one interviews. So our next 2 sessions are the last week of July. And then I will be able to coordinate a report out. But the biggest report out that we are hearing is that they want more services available in the schools. That's the biggest note that I have heard so far, that the social workers and student services are overworked and that more money needs to be invested in that space. And there has been very few organizations I've connected with yet who are not willing to be a part of that space. So when we are looking at what is it that people are willing to do, everybody's willing to come into the schools to do work. It's a matter of being let in to do that. So that's what we have so far, but I'll have a full report after the 28th of August.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, 28th of July.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. I'll have a couple of questions, follow-ups, and then I would love to hear if other folks have follow-ups too. So when you said that you're hearing that folks have identified the need for services, you're specifically calling out mental health services?
So mental health, social emotional learning. They'd like to see MMSD have more counselors, social workers, financial emotional resources for the students and the teachers. So there's several that made sure that they mentioned the teachers. Under the vision for student safety and wellness, they're talking about being able to have all of their identities being taken into account, not worrying about physical or emotional safety around peers and or educators. And one of the big things I see is that they feel like students are always having to assess their safety. So they would like for them to know that they can walk into a space that is a MMSD building and have that safety be supposed versus I now have to assess how safe I am as I walk through this building, as I walk through these spaces.
It's very powerful frame. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your work on getting all this engagement and feedback. I'd love to hear from other questions from folks or comments on Dana's feedback.
Dana, I have a question. How broad of a spectrum of folks did you have that were participating? Did you feel it was representing maybe underrepresented populations?
The only people I've spoken to so far are people of color.
Any other questions? I have a quick one, Dana. The comments very helpful. Do you feel like that was also very similar across grade level as well, elementary, middle school, and high school, or did you see any differentiation?
There is not differentiation. So even the youngins are feeling the emotional stress and toll of A, not just coming out of the pandemic, but B, they are seeing the things that are happening at other schools. So we are seeing that they are concerned as they go up through the grades, what's going to happen next. So the people that I'm speaking to, so the neighborhood centers are obviously all ages, but actually more skewed towards younger. So I'm getting that feedback across the board.
Thank you so much. So I've seen some nods, and I wanted to bring the our students members' voice. Are any of you surprised by some of the things that Dana is reporting? Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to her comments?
I'm actually not that surprised by what people were saying because in my opinion, I go to a school that has 2,000 kids, right? And there's I think only like 1 or 2 psychologists for 2,000 kids. So I can imagine that the psychologists and the social workers and the counselors are extremely overwhelmed right now, especially with the amount of volume that's coming in with kids that need more support, kids that need more help, just like all the whole school in general. So I am not surprised by what people are saying, and I feel like that needs to be changed. Like we have to have more support for kids in school and support for staff as well. Just more more like psychologists, more something. Something has to be changed.
Yeah, Joanna. Thanks, Mia.
I like to agree with everything she just said. Even though I don't go to a school that has like 2,000 people, I go to the fall, which is one of the smallest ones. I do feel like our psychologists and counselors have been overwhelmed this year dramatically, and that's had a huge effect on students and their mental health. And especially coming off of the pandemic, it's like a lot of students need help with their mental health. So I just feel like I'm not really surprised by those answers.
Thank you, Joanna.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I go to the same school as Mia. And after like that week we had with all of like the bomb threats and the fires, you could like visibly see how stressed everyone was. You know, there's like 2 psychiatrists. So they're really overworked and just no one is getting anything they need.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this item? Yeah, Michael.
Yes, I apologize because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if this was already been discussed, but in terms of the findings that you have found, is that communicated to other district leaders or other work groups? Just because this did come up in the metrics meeting, in the COVID metrics meeting on Tuesday. From the lead mental health coordinator in terms of struggling to find psychologists for the upcoming year, and just wanting to just make sure that, these work groups are talking to each other and working together in terms of, just also reinforcing that need based off of what you're hearing in the community or what we're hearing in the community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. I have a final question, Dana, and I'm just curious, the folks that you engaged, and you may have said something to that aspect, did they give some action steps? Like, did they, what is the, I think you mentioned something, they were ready to come to the building, but I wanted to make sure that I capture that.
So, the questions that we ask are really open-ended questions. And so let me go back to my sheet here. So when they were talking about vision of student safety and wellness, everyone that I've talked to so far has these really great visions. And then when they say, what do you want to do differently? Almost everything that they said includes some type of resources, because that's, they're not, these are organizations that are community partner organizations, and they know that, their biggest, contribution could be through resources, people resources, but they know that that costs money. And then as far as what it is that what they would commit to, which was the third, they're all saying, we will commit to a lot of different things, barring the resources to do it. I think that the biggest thing that we continue to come across are the resources that are available to do the things to keep the students safe. So, and again, I still have 2 more feedback sessions. I have 2 more individual meetings. I can hone answer questions more from that. But I mean, our 3 questions themselves don't lend for planning. They lend for
vision.
For vision. And vision wise, everybody has these really great visions. But at the end of the day, what those visions take are actual dollars and actual coordination across not just admin, but with the community partners. And we don't have the staffing for that. I mean, we don't have the staffing to do the things that we did just last year.
Yeah.
So that is my frustration as I talk through these things and try to encapsulate how can we help. But, as a community partner, how I can help is people resource, but that costs us dollars. So then where do we find those dollars? And if that doesn't come from the school system, how much of that can we take on ourselves? Like, I know that is something that we as an organization are currently deciding for MMSD. We have been in MMSD doing support for years. We have to look at what level of support that we can continue to do without funding.
Right. Do you have does RCC have a contract right now, Dana?
I have a contract. We've been waiting for a contract since October.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Mia?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So, I feel like I've heard somewhere in the past or like sometime about MMSD or Wisconsin or somebody getting mental health funds. Has MMSD gotten mental health like funding for mental health either for the past school year or now, or like do we have that? That's just a question that I was wondering.
Yeah, I can start answering as a former school board member, and I don't know if anybody has a better or more comprehensive answer. So the funding of COVID relief is a temporary funding. It's like a one-time funding, and you can spend, some are 1 year, some are multi-year. But then after those years, you don't have any more funding. So those funds tend to not be fiscally responsibly. You shouldn't be using that for staff, because then that means that staff, once that money is gone, that you can no longer pay that staff. Not to say that it couldn't be used for a contract with a partner, because the contracts are renewed every year, and the partner knows that the money might not be there, after year 3. But I mean, so many of those decisions around COVID relief started before year 2, right? People are still getting COVID. Our superintendent, I just spoke with him this week. He had a really bad case of COVID. So COVID is still here. It's still real. It's still impacting people. And then you have the aftermath or the continuum of fighting of COVID that is impacting. So I don't, it's hard to know, like, what is the additional funding. I know that the Department of Public Instruction has funding too. I don't know much about how that those fundings are being deployed. But that might be something that this committee may be interested in doing, is, you know, sending letters to the Department of Public Instruction and the state of Wisconsin, the governor himself, saying this is where we are at now. And we can't, there's so much you can do with the same money that we got last year, or just a little bit more money from the years prior. So I don't know, Mia, if I was able to kind of address your question.
No, you did. Thank you.
And then I know that this group has also talked and flagged, and Michael, I know you missed last time, but in the document that you all received from Barb today or yesterday, I'm not sure. It's called the Committee Action Grid. That question on wanting someone from central office to come and speak directly to the financial investment in mental health. That's to coming, Mia. So just so you know, we have made already that request. And I think Leah Astor, who is our executive director that oversees all that work, is on vacation now. So, but she's aware, I think, that we have made that request, and will come either, I think, in the next July meeting. Yes, Angie.
I do know, and again, my brain is a little bit foggy, that there has been, and there was a plan for investment, and I believe it might have even been prior to COVID, to increase social workers in buildings. And so I do know that even this year coming up, this 22-23, there have been increase in schools, in some of the schools. So there is already a plan out there. I'm not sure of all of the particulars, again, as I'm new and still learning, but that has begun. And as Mike said, on top of that, there is still an issue around being able to identify people for those positions. So while there is an investment, we also have to have candidates or people out there who are willing to come and do the work. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a catch-22, and that's across the board in many areas.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Hicks. And you are absolutely right. Social work, counselors, nurses are very challenging to fill those positions. Michael, I saw your hand, and then Maya.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm meeting with Dr. Gutschow, who's the one of the lead kind of mental health coordinator tomorrow. And if it's okay with this group, I can bring that question specifically in terms of where is the investment, how is it being tracked, and also I'm not sure if they're aware of, because they were just recently brought into the district a few months ago. So I don't know how familiar they are with this committee. So just to, make sure I'm sharing, we're bridging those connections, and maybe at a future meeting, we could invite them into the space so they can speak also on that, along with Dr. Esser and some other folks, just because I think that's something that they, I will say at the metrics meeting, they did say they're having a hard time finding enough psychologist candidates, just as one work group. So just to affirm what Dr. Hicks was saying, sometimes even if the money's there, there's mental health needs we're not the only district that has mental health needs. So there's also a bit of a competition in terms of trying to get those services along with your Sun Prairies, your Veronas, your Middletons, and whatnot. So sometimes that complicates things even further. Just kind of also, because then it becomes, negotiating salaries and all those sorts of things that a lot of people are working on. But that becomes a complicating factor. Or if they get hired, getting them processed through and into the space to do the work, as a complicating factor. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much, Michael, for that plug in. Board Member Pearson.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just one up what you said, Ananda, about just the monies in which we could utilize. I do know that we have signaled as a board in many areas and many times that mental health supports and are really one of our core values in ensuring that the schools do have resources and able to have we know that it's important, and it's something that we have been somewhat committed to trying to ensure that happens. But the barriers that Mike and Dr. Hicks mentioned are definitely there. But no, we are on par with trying to get as much resources for young people and essentially just for everyone. It's really difficult though right now at the same time. So just acknowledging that is a fact, but I just wanted to put that out there that we are as a board committed to, ensuring that there are mental health supports. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. Board Member Pearson. Any other follow-ups on this item, and then actually on this topic, and then I wanted to open up for any other stakeholder liaisons. And I think, Mari, you're the only one here. Do you have anything to add, Mari? Or I got your email, but I'm curious if you.
Yeah, I haven't connected with Carolyn yet, or with Maddie, frankly, but I can reach out to both of them again, maybe early next week. So I would really like to send some messages out and have some meetings and really coordinate with parents. And hats off to you, Dana, for all you've done so far. That's really impressive. So I might actually ask for some of your questions if you don't mind sharing your work. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Mari. So I wanted to get us on track for a check-in, and because of time, I want us to maybe reflect on one word that describing your summer. And Dana, I'm gonna start with you. So for me is change. Dana.
One word that describes my summer? Concerts.
Oh, we couldn't hear the last sentence. And then if you can pass it to somebody else after that.
I just said concerts. Now we're going to Gordon.
I don't know. I would just say I'm just going to say hectic, to be honest. I'll pass it on to Mr. Jones.
Thanks, Gordon. I would say short. I'll pass it to Ruben.
I'll say sunshine. I'll pass it to Joanna.
I'd say I said interesting last time, I think. I guess entertaining in a way. I'll pass it to Cece.
Like busy or eventful, I think. I'll pass to Mia.
Busy. I'll pass it to Mari.
I'm going to say change. I thought my kids are learning to drive and lots of things are changing in my house. I am going to pass it to Rebecca.
Outdoors. Pass it to Angie.
I'll just say working, and then I'll pass it on to Maya.
I'd say busy, extremely, extremely busy. And I will pass it off to whoever has not gone.
Has everyone gone? Okay, I think we got everyone. Great, thank you, everyone. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Thank you. Why don't we, Dana, I want you to be in this conversation here. Let's move up, take a motion to move item 5 up. And I just need a second.
I second.
We have a motion in a second to move the vision for safety and wellness item up next. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Great, thank you all. Gordon, I don't know if you wanted to start by introducing this document. You did a phenomenal job on making sure that is really clear and concise. So do you want to get it started on this document? And if you have not seen, Barb has sent an email out to you last night or today. That is a Google Doc or no, a Word doc with a grid or a Google Doc. I don't know how you were receiving. I think it's a Word doc.
Got the email personally, but I'm not sure if anyone else did either.
I didn't get an email either.
Yes, Ananda, I don't think it was shared with them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think Barb was actually waiting for you guys to send it because of her commitment to her family. So I'm not sure if that did actually go out.
Well, Ananda, do you just want me to just share it with everyone that's from the calendar?
Why don't you, Melissa, do you mind sharing the screen? Oh, sorry, Gordon, what was your suggestion?
Also, I could just email it to everyone that's on the calendar invite.
I can,
yeah,
I can share it if that makes it easier for you.
Yes. Let me,
I have it.
You have it? Okay.
Yeah.
We can look at it together. That's great. And then after you share it, Melissa, if you don't mind, screen sharing for us as well.
Yep.
Thank you. Go ahead, Gordon. You want to walk us through?
Thank you. So this committee action grid, I know Nana was saying like we should have something that like clearly lays out like our action plan for the committee. So this is the document that we will be using to collaborate on to like, plan for our, potential recommendations or the actions of the committee, and to also just track the progress with other action plans that we have. Melissa, could you please scroll to the second page? So on this page, we have the first action, which is wellness and mental health. And we can see here that the table is divided into category, main item, recommendation, timeline, implementation, and status. So for the category, there are different, aspects of how to best tackle wellness and mental health, right? We have talked about something with summer planning, staff wellness, engaging like key MSD staff to help like sort of like the implementation of the whole, district's mental health policy and et cetera. Then we also discuss like financial investment into mental health, because, it kind of boils down to like money, right? That to allocate those resources for mental health services. And then, of course, communication, which is always important in every action. And then lastly, community follow-up. The main items is just sort of just like best summarizes like what does each category is trying to accomplish. in response to addressing the action. So, and for the recommendation timeline implementation, did I just say like, once we, what is the time? Yes.
Excuse me, Gordon, before you get too much into it, I just wanted to clarify for folks because I think a couple people were not at the last meeting.
Right.
So we, because we did so much of the pre-work around our visioning and asking questions, we dedicated our last meeting to focusing on action and being action oriented. And what two themes emerged, it was wellness and mental health, and school crisis response. And so in those buckets, we started to then align what folks were bringing up as potential recommendations. Some of them could be recommendations, could be future recommendations to the board, but there were additional questions that the committee wanted to know. And I already foreshadowed one of them because I thought, I'm so sorry, I thought you all had this document already. But one of them was a specific ask, and you can see there on the screen, around mental health and financial investment. And questions around what is included, what is the family and staff communication, and should be also student communication. And because we wanted to know that, in the summer, that's where that timeline is, summer, and nothing has started because we are still waiting to hear from Leah, Esser, or other folks from the mental health team. So I wanted to just give a little bit more background, Gordon, and then you can continue to work through it.
Thank you, Ananda. And then, as Ananda said, the timeline is pretty straightforward. It's like, when should we have these things accomplished by? And so as the status has a 3, Melissa, if you just click on the first one that says not started. So we can edit this ourselves, but so we have not started and progress reviewing approved. Not started just mean we just haven't fully worked on that specific work, and progress means we're working with it. Reviewing means that our work is complete, we just need some revisions. And then approved is we are finalized and it's off to the board or to any other where, that's essential to delivery of the action. And then moving on to the third page, please. This is what I was talking about, the school crisis response, which is our second action as a committee. And here we have communication, more so communicating guns and firearms. So that might look like, if there's a firearm in the building, how is that being communicated with those in the building and the communities that surround the building? The critical response team, that's what we discussed at the last meeting, sort of the people who are in charge of, supervision of security staff, responding to crises that, that happen within our schools, and the trainings of those who will be responding to those crisis situations. Then the central office response, this is sort of what all boils down to, also this transparency and communication. We discussed this for many meetings that we need to work with the central office more effectively to, not only get more transparent communication, but also communication that's done swiftly. Because we have found there has been a lag in communication. And we have also discussed there has been no really clear protocol with that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I can remember from the past couple of meetings. And then we have emergency drills, pretty just straightforward. And then emergency protocol staff training. And that is sort of how our staff being trained to deal with these emergency situations. And going back to emergency drill, that is to ensure the frequency of them and also to make sure it doesn't cause any undue anxiety. And that's pretty much it. Anna, do you have something to add?
Just the in progress, that doesn't mean that there is no draft of recommendation necessarily. It just means that we have already identified, we have a meeting, Gordon had a meeting with Dr. McGregory. Dr. McGregory had already identified a couple of staff to come to the next meeting in July. So that's what that in progress means. It doesn't mean that we have, created any particular language around that. So I'm sure folks are opening up document and sort of taking it in, but I'm wondering if there are any questions around the frames or any of the language that we're using. This is something that we, at the end of the last meeting, we kind of walked through. So this is that reflection to you all from that.
Mhm. Also, before we get into that, can this document please be shared with other members of the committee?
I will do that right now, but I do have to stop sharing.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Maybe, Gordon, we can talk a little bit around the recommendation timeline of implementation. And Gordon and I just took our best guess on some of them. Some of them were, we needed to bring folks to this committee for questions and clarifications, but some of them had already some specifics. For example, the summer programming or summer planning. And so we already were able to identify that the implementation timeline is the summer of 23. So there were two lines of thoughts around creating and co-creating recommendations to the board. One is how usually it is with committees, which is we do a lot of conversation, and then at some point, let's see, in the meeting in January, we sit down, like, here's all the recommendations, and then we send to the board. The other option, which is, I think I heard a little bit, some of that energy in some of our past meetings, was to let's get whatever recommendations that we have and then send communications to the board. And maybe it's on a quarterly basis, we can send communication. Hey, we just looked at this specific item and this is our recommendation. So we can kind of have a sort of an ongoing work, specifically because so much change. And, this next year, we don't know what's going to bring in regards to all the things that we're talking about, wellness and safety. So I'm curious if folks have opinions or thoughts. Ms. Mari?
I think it might make more sense to not do all the recommendations at the same time. I think that might be overwhelming and a little bit less effective, but so, I think it would make more sense to do it in pieces, but.
Yeah, thank you. I see some head nods. Yeah, and the thinking was that, the way, and I'm not making an assumption that myself and Gordon are going to continue to be the co-chairs, but the way that we were thinking is that this committee is going to continue to be extremely relevant, for the next upcoming years, that maybe this is an ongoing work that, that keeps changing and keeps adding and keeps, shifting as needs change or needs increase, or, different bodies of work becomes implemented. Any other thoughts? Anyone was not able to receive the document or not able to open the document. I just want to make sure that.
Still working on it here.
Oh, Melissa, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Why don't we move to the next item and then we can close out. I wasn't sure if people were looking at the document.
You should have it now or in 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we go to updates, communication updates. Sorry, Liz, for bringing you out last. And this is Liz last meeting with us, and feel really sad as a colleague and a friend to have us leave us, but we'd love to hear from you and some of the updates.
Sure. So I think one of the updates I'll share is that I know we had discussed bringing some central office folks from the critical response team and others to a future meeting to talk through, Gordon, like you talked about those quote unquote protocols and how central office and schools work through those. I believe that's going to be taking place either at the next meeting or a future meeting. The person who would have been joining is not in this week, so you can look forward to that in a future meeting. My other communication update is just that we have an update drafted from the last meeting that as soon as I get approval from you, Ananda and Gordon, I can go ahead and get that published. And we also talked about some sort of a web form on the website where folks could submit questions or feedback. And really all the clarification I needed is there anything specific that you wanted worded in that, unless you just would like something general, and we can get that up right away.
Thank you, Liz. And I'm sorry, I had the email response in a draft, so I just sent that. So what Liz is mentioning is if you go to our safety and wellness committee, ad hoc committee site, which looks amazing. Thank you so much. Folks can look at the updates, recaps of the meetings about the committee, and then all the way and at the end it has the share feedback. And then people can ask a question or a comment or suggestion or concern. And they can also say that this committee is awesome by giving some compliments. We can all use those during this time. And I think, Liz, you asking if there are any particular questions that we wanted to add into this form? Or is there something else? Oh, sorry, I can't hear.
Sorry about that. Let me look real quick here. So is the share feedback? So share feedback is really, that's basically the let's talk feature, it looks like. So I think we have what we need here, unless you wanted something more specific around the guiding questions.
How do folks feel? Yeah, I think having a paragraph that talks a little bit about the guiding questions and how we would love to hear from everyone in Madison or any partner around those guiding questions. Dana, you have had the most experience in that questions application externally. I'm wondering if you have thoughts around adding any additional, more action-oriented question.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, right now our questions are very esoterical and there could be a question like, do you have a program that specifically could go into the schools to help? What could this program do? So I think that it's different to say, how would you support versus what programming do you have? What is the cost of that programming? Can you give us a summary of that programming? Is this programming that you can put into the schools, or is this something where kids have to come to you for that program?
I'm wondering, Liz, because that question would not apply to everyone. So I'm wondering if do you have to word it for everyone the same, Liz?
I mean, I think there are different ways we could go about it. I mean, we could make it a little bit clearer at the top of the page and in other venues, kind of what feedback we're looking for from various stakeholders, and then just drive them to the page to answer any prompts that they wish to.
Okay. I mean, we can also, we talked about this, we can also do a survey, create a survey. And that would, if the person fill out the survey selects that they are a partner, that will lead them to say, do you have a program or resources or, human capacity or whatever, financial capacity to support the XYZ. You can also do that, right, Liz?
We can, and I think in the intro, just making it clear the various opportunities for people to give us feedback so that they know before taking the survey that they're actually somebody who we want to hear from and what we might be looking for from their participation.
Sounds good. Any other thoughts on communication, folks? If not, just a quick update. The next meeting, right, Liz, we'll have Tim Limans joining us.
That's my understanding.
Him or somebody else from the communications team will join us. I wanted to share, Liz, great deep gratitude for your work and for jumping in to help us launch the website, the communication, and Liz does all the newsletter. Thank you so much for all your work.
Well, thank you. I can't take credit for all that, but thank you so much. And it's been great meeting with all of you.
Yeah, thank you. I see, Jessica, you joined us. Thank you so much. We had moved the stakeholder group liaisons updates for earlier in the meeting. I'm wondering if you have any updates for us. Not at this time? Okay, thank you. Just to make sure. So we are on item 7. Please, someone correct me because we moved so many items already. So next steps, next meeting dates and time for possible agenda. And you see there on the agenda item, the next meeting is on July 28th. We should talk, and maybe since we have a little bit of time, if we wanted to pause for August, since there's a lot of things happen in August. I mean, there's a lot of things happen all summer, but I know the July dates have been already challenging, but curious if folks would like to give it a pause for August and then we reconvene in September, but try to align the Thursday, whatever is the Thursday, that would have been the bi-weekly Thursday. And then in September, if we do that too, we can use August to work with the liaisons to have some meetings, particular meetings with staff or meetings with parents and students. We can have those scheduled starting in September as well. Yes, Ruben.
Yeah, I'm fine with pausing. I guess my question for that is, what is the transition plan for Gordon and yourself? Because I think that might make a difference, right? Is this our last meeting with you two next time? So I just was curious about that.
Yeah, good question. Jessica?
I'm fine with in theory with sort of foregoing August, but there's so much that goes on. We're kind of in a reactionary mode if we missed a lot of time. That's my only concern. Because we're sort of finding out what isn't happening at that point, or staff are, and there might be feedback that they might want to put in. That's my own thought.
Yeah. I'm good in staying August, y'all. So if y'all are with us, right, Gordon?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to. I mean, I already had a plan for it anyway.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that we have actionable agenda items. And then that we do have adequate attendance in order for the meeting to start in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Maya?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I think it'd be best not to pause. And the reason why I say that is just because if we are as a board to make any budgetary decisions, like that is going to be happening very soon. So I would strongly advise the group, if we are going to have actionable pieces that require certain budgetary, I guess, movement or just additions, or like I would just try to do that as soon as possible so that we go into it in August and then start finalizing the budget. So, or not, sorry, not August, but in October.
Great.
So if you guys can, if we can all work as a team to try to get some actionable things that we'd like to see, then that helps us. But also I'm also opposed to pausing, because I do think recommendations that do come from this ad hoc will also inform other decisions that might need to happen at the schools, and to give like teachers or admin or whoever, I guess, a space to implement, but also the space to plan is also really important. So I just want to make sure that whatever comes from us, we can actually do, if that makes sense. So
sounds good. Well, I see a lot of energy for us to continue to meet in August. I know that we have seniors that might be transitioning or moving, or if the seniors can send Barb an email about September dates, I'm gonna have Barb already put those in a calendar. I'm sorry, for August dates. I'm gonna have Barb put them on a calendar for you all, but please let us know as soon as possible once, and then you know the dates already. So we'll be the 2 weeks after July 28th, which will be August 11th, and then again the 25th. So if you already have a conflict, just send an email to Barb, so then she will know what's the quorum looks like. And then we can also in August begin doing some onboarding of the new students that are coming in, and just know like who they are. And I know that some of them are going to be coming from this group. So yeah, so I'm excited for that transition, and excited for the seniors that are doing amazing things. All right. Any other comments?
I have a question actually. So do you mean seniors that were seniors like last school year, or to be seniors this year? I was just curious.
No, seniors this year. And I think, Gordon, aside from you, who else is senior this year?
When we did the process, I was going to be the only senior for.
Oh, you're the only one. Okay.
Yes. I think the oldest here it would be Joanna and Maya. I mean Mia, sorry. Joanna and Mia.
Okay. Great. Okay, that worked out. Okay, no, if there's no other discussions, we can move a motion to adjourn. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
1 second. Just for the next meeting, that have you said like we hope to have some guests from decision administration here. So it would be best that, we all try to be here to ask them the questions that we've been wanting to ask them for the longest, especially on the realms of communication and safety, all of those things, so that we can go from that meeting and start doing more actionable things, right? So just to throw that out there.
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah, and for folks to review the grid and then add or make any comments, or if there's anything that was missing from previous conversations that you like to see reflected on that, please let Barb know so we can adjust the document before the next meeting. Yeah, go ahead, Ruben.
Yeah, I just want to know, I have not received the document to the email that's associated with this meeting, so I'm not sure if other people did, and I'm just not on that list.
I can double check that.
Thank you.
Has everyone else received a document? Yeah, okay. All right, Ruben, we got you. And then regarding your question around transition, we can talk on the 28th. We don't know yet. And part of the conversation is also to find out what's happening in August too. So thank you everyone for you all's work, for you all's commitment, and looking forward to our meeting at the end of this month. Thank you so much, Melissa. And
Welcome. Thanks for putting up with our technical issues.
Ananda?
Yes.
I did not get the document either. I just checked.
Okay. We'll make sure that everyone gets the document. And Melissa, if it doesn't work out, we can ask Barb. I think she's coming back tomorrow or next Monday.
I believe Monday.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure that by Monday. Yeah. Sorry, Rebecca.
I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it just came in.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. With that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second by Ruben. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Melissa. Good luck, Liz.